Chapter 10, Lesson 5 is rounding decimals. So this is, again, new because decimal is new. So rounding just means that there's a procedure that we have to follow. So if it says round to 1 decimal place, the strategy that we will do is we will underline the place value, the first decimal place value. Then we will look at the number after. If the number is 5 or more, then that means the number that we underlined will go up by 1. But if the number that follows the underlined digit is 4 or less, then that means the underlined digit stays the same. Now, whether it's, again, for a whole number or the decimal, it's the same strategy. So, which means if it says round to 1 decimal place, basically what we're doing is we're rounding to the nearest tenth. If it's round to 2 decimal places, then that means we're rounding to the nearest hundredths. So the rounding should be familiar because in Module 1, we took it up with the whole numbers. Okay, so we apply now on pages 80 to 81. Okay, so in number 2, it says round to the nearest whole number. So we will underline the whole number, and then we will look at the digit after the whole number. If it's 5 or more, the 4 becomes a 5. But if it's lesser, then that means the 4 stays 4. So in this case, this happens to be 4. So if you want to put the squiggly equal to, that's fine because this is technically not equal to that. So that's an approximate value. Okay, so in the next problem, to the nearest whole, that's the 3 is the whole number. The digit after the 3 is 0, which means we don't make this go up. So that means this is 23. Okay, and finally, to the nearest whole, if we look at the digit after the underlined number, that's an 8, which means that has to go up by 1. Which means 99 goes up by 1 and becomes 100. Okay, so same procedure if it says round to 1 decimal place. Okay, so here's the first decimal or tenths place. So I look at the number after the tenths place and it's lower than 4 or lower than 5 in this case, which means this will be 4.8. Doesn't change. Okay, if we look at the first decimal place, the number after is 4, which means that stays the same. So that's 15.0. In the last one, for the round to 1 decimal place, this is a 9. The number after is bigger than 5. Therefore, this has to go up by 1. But if it goes up by 1, that affects the whole number. So that means this is going to be 10. Okay, and finally, if it says round to 2 decimal places. Okay, so that means we underline the second decimal place or the hundredths place. So if we round to the hundredth, that means looking at the number after the hundredth is 6, which is more than 5. That means this becomes 0.52. It has to go up 1. Okay, looking at the next problem, to 2 decimal places, the number after is a 5, which means that's going to go up 1, which means this is 1.95. And finally, here is 9. The number after it is 5. That has to go up by 1. But if that goes up by 1, that also affects that, which means this will be 9.00. But the 9.00 is technically just the same as 9. So again, when you end with decimal, the zeros after the decimals, technically don't need to be written down anymore. That concludes lesson 5 of chapter 10. See you in the next lesson.